Hello everyone, here is Philip from Fira Digital Art, and today is my final video on this challenge, so final words video. I finally finished my work, as you can see on my desktop. Um, I've done the final rendering and compositing, everything inside, Clarice. I'm pretty much satisfied with the result I got because I'm using Clarice for the first time in my workflow. I think I achieved a good result. I'm really satisfied with it. It looks pretty much nice, and it was wonderful working in Clarice, learning as I go. There is still a lot of things to learn inside Clarice, but I think I pretty much made a good work out of it. So I'm just now in this video going to summarize everything I've done until now. So what I've did, what the story is behind this scene, what it wants to tell. So I just want to explain a couple of those things. So let's get started. First, let's start from the name. As I mentioned before, the name of my project is The Chase, because definitely you can see that the scene represents the chase with the police, but I have some kind of story behind it, you know. These two cars that are racing, these two are the top racers in the country in street racing. Yes. This one hero has the code name Zero, and he's one of the famous racers, you know. And the other one is also really famous and really known. He likes muscle cars, and I want to create that kind of comparison between super cars, super modern cars, and also between old muscle cars that are very presented in America. You know, they like to use some kind of old cars, and they make them so powerful, so strong. I can say renew them completely, which is awesome. And as I said before, so I choose Koenigsegg Regera for my main car. Also, the second one is Dodge Charger, and police cars and helicopter. They are just making the scene more intense, more dynamic, more action, I can say. So I can say this is pretty much like some kind of keyframe concept art, you know, where I get some key point in the action of the actual, you know, I can say you can make of the actual scene, and yeah, just get that keyframe and then just stop it in time, make an image of it, make the scene of it. So that's what I can say about the scene. Also, let's continue with the story. So these two are the top racers in the country. They wanted to try out themselves against themselves. Yes. So in one-on-one racing to conclude who is better. But what is the trick behind the story? Somebody else that wants to get in their place, so they get all the glory. He set them up a trap, so the police already waited for them, so they couldn't race. I can say, so they couldn't finish the race. The police got a trap on them, and they are chasing them all over the country so they can get hold of them. And you see there is a dynamic scene where some of the police car are crashing because they're going on a high speed, just a little mistake and you're off the road. Then I add a couple of these details like these sparks, which adds a lot of, you know, dynamics to the action. Also a lot of scratches on this police car, so they're going through a lot with these racers, you know. Also the helicopter is engaged here in I can say this chase, so it's very important. Everybody's chasing them. It's a one-time, I can say, chance to catch them, because somebody else wanted to put them away from their throne, so they wanted to dethrone them from street racing and take its place. there is also a lot of gangs and mafia involved into this. So yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And that's kind of story for me. And what I did also in the scene, um, I left the space for audience to choose how this story can end. Will they be catched or will they survive and go away? To some other country, to some other city to live because they're not welcome here. I can say somebody wants to put them away from the place. So that's what I put for the audience. Maybe they will be catched and then get from the jail after a long time, and maybe they continue racing. There is a lot of, I can say, ways that this story can end. So I'm leaving that to audience. That's why this scene is, I can say, pretty much interesting. And also the story that I make up is also interesting because it really fits with the scene and also leave the space for the ending, how it can end. It can end differently in any kind of directions. Maybe some of them can crash and only one of them survive, or yeah, you can do all kind of stuff about this story, which is also interesting. And I also looked into that because this challenge is about your work, how it looks like, and also about the story and how you compose the story with the colors and with the presentation of your scene. What's on the scene, does it really match with the story, does it make any sense, which is very important. Also, as I mentioned before, I liked this kind of sunset. Why I placed the scene in this part of the day, I can say. You see, the setting sun can symbolize a lot of things, and in this case, they're chased. It can symbolize, because after sun comes darkness, comes night, and when the sun comes down, it can be the end for you, you know what I mean? And it can be end for them. That's the symbolic I wanted to present in this work. And also, there is the second chance for them to survive, and that means after night comes another sun. So they will be reborn, I can say, and they can escape this, mess that somebody else made for them. So, and also the other thing I connected, because my environment is pretty much like some kind of Wild West, those cliff sandstones are like in Texas, Arizona, some of that part of of America, I can say. And I just connected those things, in those days when there are cowboys and those showdowns, they were always set in the sunset, something like that, some of that kind of atmosphere. Nobody's out there, just two of them, and that's what I wanted to present in this scene. I just reflected that kind of story to this scene and to this story that I made. So those are some symbolic things I use to utilize into my scene and also into my models and everything that is happening in the scene. So I think that's pretty much it, what I explained about the scene. That's pretty much it for the scene, I can say. Those are the most important things I wanted to say. Also want to mention that everything I compose in Site Clarice, I want to talk about these little scratches. So they were not actually in the textures, but after that, what I did, the very useful things you can do inside Clarice is using decals. You can use a blend node or blend the decal texture of those scratches that I add, and also blend the texture that is actual texture of my model of the police car or anything else you're using in your scene. So blend those together, connect to the main node of the shader. I used standard shader in this case for matching all these assets and connecting all the textures. So standard shader, and yeah, you connect those two, blend them, and then what I did, I use scope. There is some kind of scope tool or node, I don't know how I can name it inside, and with that you can move your decal on that texture and you can place it anywhere you want, and you don't need to worry about UVing and wasting time on that. So that can really much speed up your workflow if you were to add some more details to the surface or your texture. And you don't want to spend so much time on UVing. Sometimes your models are too dense to UV, especially these models that I'm using are really high poly, so it's difficult to UV them that much perfect. I tried myself because I did a lot of these textures inside Substance Painter, so yeah, I tried myself to be um, as technically good as possible in this work, but also tried this decal and it was interesting. So I could have used for any of these textures that I created and already spent a lot of time to UV to match all these to be perfectly presented on the surface of these cars. I could have used just those decals and just placed them wherever I want, and they're not actual textures. They're not part of the texture that are used on these cars. They're just decals, and the projection of the camera showing them like they are part of that texture, and that look like that. So that's what I did with these kind of scratches. Also, these kind of parts that are just falling apart from this crashed car. What I did, I created them in Maya and then rendered them out in Clarice separately and just import them as an image and then just blend them, composite them inside of main image so they are looking like parts of the vehicle are falling out. Yeah, the vehicle is crashed. Um, Also, I did all this lighting and all that stuff. Also, you can import color maps, color lot maps. So lookup tables, you can import them. Also, as I mentioned in previous video, in Clarice. So I created one inside Photoshop. I tested out how I like it, and then exported and just imported directly. And then I got just those kind of yellowish mood, like sunset is coming, and yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, you can do a lot of those things of post-production inside Clarice. I don't know all of them, but I used some of them. I learned as I go, as I mentioned, so I used a lot of those stuff like you can play with contrast, you can play with hue and saturations, brightness, vibration of the colors. You can play with any of those stuff. The only thing I wasn't satisfied is this blur kind of motion blur effect, that I add. And also the spinning wheel here that are spinning. Yeah, the actual effect. I did that in Photoshop. I tried to do something like that inside the Clarice, but I couldn't quite get it how to do that. I was not satisfied. Looks like I look like because I'm not actually Clarice user. This is the first time I'm using. So it was a little bit difficult to understand that, but yeah, just export it after rendering and just add that blur inside Photoshop. So blur this motion blur that they're actually moving. The cars and vehicles are not blurred because they're very important part of the scene. They're the main part. That's why I didn't blur them. Also, I just only blurred those wheels, so they're really spinning. The next thing I want to explain, I also composed this kind of sparks here and here, just to add more dynamic to the scene. Yeah, just prepare them in Photoshop, import it inside as an image inside of Clarice, and just compose them where I wanted to place them. You can also use layers blending, the same as in Photoshop, which is also good. And that's pretty much it, guys. I pretty much explained everything I want about my scene. I'm satisfied. I hope you like my work because I like it. I wanted to release this video before I actually release my final image and send it to Hum3d for review. I think everything worked out exactly as I wanted, as I planned, especially because I'm using Clarice for the first time. Also, want to wish a good luck to everyone in this competition. I saw a lot of amazing artists, a lot of amazing work. Some of them are still actually working on them just to finish them before the deadline is finished, because there is a very small time until the end, like 4 or 5 days. Yeah, so everybody's finishing everything up. Uh, yeah, I hope all of them will make on time, as I did. Yeah, I'm very happy about that. At some points, I was not really sure if I'm going to finish it. Yeah, because I started with a lot of these assets, and yeah, in some points I was like frustrated that I'm not gonna finish and I'm gonna waste my time, and yeah, but I finished it, and yeah, I'm really happy about that. The results are very satisfying. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you like my work. Hope you like my work in progress that I was releasing on Hum3d forum. I like to be so detailed about some stuff. I want to release a lot of work in progress so you can see what I'm doing. And also that's why I'm making these videos in the first place, so I can explain everything. It's easier to explain with words than just writing down some comments. Uh, Again, thanks for watching. Leave a like, share, subscribe, and hope you see you guys in the next competitions. Bye.